Shit, I went live. Well, I meant to give us a countdown, and I went live. So I guess we're going to get right to the show because what else is there to do? Speaking of which, since we're going to get right to it and not give the other countdown, I'll do some buffering and some preparedness. What is the best thing about this weekend that we didn't appreciate last weekend that now we'll appreciate more, you think?
I think just the fact that there's, so much less time of football left, it's going to bring so much more for fans. Like I know I get a lot more invested, even though I watch games every week. Just knowing that there's so much little time of NFL left, I always try and soak in every single snap more often than not.
And this should be the better football we watch. I've watched a lot of crappy games. But then again, I'm someone who's watched the USFL. So I've watched as bad as football can be on the professional level, really. So I love the fact that when we get to the playoffs, we get really, like, these are games you can truly focus on and learn football. If you're just like, if you're not a huge fan, if you're not watching every week like we are, these are the games where people do the crisp things that get pointed out. It's like, oh, okay, this is what it is. You don't see this in every game throughout the regular season.
Yeah, no. I would go to agree to that, but then I also noticed that we have teams like the Giants left who I think we all agree they're a little bit further than their timeline says. Jaguars, same thing, further than what their timeline expected.
Right, but that's still where you get to the point where it's like, okay, this is what it looks like when a team really overachieves. Like, you really get the perspective of, okay, that's not a great team, but they did overachieve and got to where they were, as opposed to teams like Kansas City that haven't looked like world beaters all year, but you know that they're in every game they play in the playoffs.
Right. I think there's one game, I don't know if we want to hit on specific games yet. There is a lot going on with the Bengals-Bills game, injury-wise, that needs to be considered. I don't know if we want to break that down yet or wait.
We can break it down when we get to it.
Okay. Logan, would you like to just get right into the spreads? Or...
Yeah, let's get right into the spreads. Why don't you give the people the typical breakdown, and then we decided to reverse engineer the spread picks, and then we got a bit of a twist on it. So you can go ahead and address all that.
So with the spread picks, last week we went over it, so I'm just going to quickly summarize in case people didn't watch the review show. We all won one game. The records are now 19-16 for Logan, 21-12-2 for Gov, and 19-16 for me. So Gov's far and away in the lead. He'd have to go on a drastic losing streak to end up not having that lockdown.
Still entirely possible.
I mean, you could lose the next 2 weeks, all your things, and then somebody could take the lead. So, but with that said, last week we only picked one game and nothing else. But with there being a tie between me and Logan, we figured we need to have a little bit more of a chance of a tiebreaker. So we are adding to the game that we pick. We will also pick whether we'll hit over and under, and that will also affect our record for these spreads. And with that said, my first pick is going to be Bills -5.5, and I like the over there. Too much offensive talent, not enough defensive talent on the Bengals side. I wouldn't be shocked if the Bills almost hit this by themselves.
Oh, I don't like the Bills, so yeah, I would take the Bengals.
I was also going to say I would take the Bengals on that one.
Wow.
I would also take the over in that game in total, though.
You did hear about their offensive line injuries, right?
Yeah, which is why I like the over even more. Because turnovers lead to short fields, which lead to scoring opportunities. And if you press both teams, I think both teams will throw because that's what they do. Yeah.
The Bengals have ruled out 2 of their starting offensive linemen already. So that's the big swayer for me to just go ahead and say Bills this week.
But don't you think that's a good thing for, and we'll get Gov in here because he didn't make the pick, but don't you think that's a good thing for Joe Burrow, Gov? Because if the offensive line is banged up, you're going to want to go into shotgun, I would assume, and you want to get the ball out quick. It's probably bad for Joe Mixon, I would guess, who's going to have to depend on that offensive line to block. I don't know. I think we might actually see a more mobile Joe Burrow, and actually it will lead to fantasy points.
I could definitely see that happen. That's definitely what they'll. Well, I don't want to say definitely, but that is what they have done this year when they've had offensive line troubles, which
Correct.
They came in not having a great offensive line. So
yeah, but to lose 2 starters, and I think I'm
still looking for that. I'm honestly still looking for that news. I don't see it anywhere.
It was Kappa and I think Williams.
Yeah, I did hear it as well. I heard on Forward Progress with Rob Pizzola. They mentioned it with their first guest.
CBS took it, ended up saying it as well. Yeah, Jonah Williams and Alex Kappa officially out 6 hours ago.
Yeah. But actually, like I say, I think that actually is beneficial to both passing games and actually will lead to more of a circus. We saw it this season with the Seahawks and the Lions. We've seen it with the Ravens and Dolphins, like not really household names on the offensive line. This is before Staley was back for the Ravens. And so I just think that it leads to more fantasy points, which is...
I will also bring up Stephon Diggs did not practice, but they say that's for rest reasons, which I'm 100% fine with. If he's not hurt, everyone's a little banged up at this point.
Right.
I'm fine with resting your star receiver.
I think there's a lot of good sneaky potential in that game. We'll get into that in the lineup builder. Let me transition over to my spread pick. I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm a fan of the Lions. Give me the cat team that's still left. I think they got a lot of fight left in them. I think they got some bite. I want the Jags plus 11.5.
Oh, you have it at I have it at +9, but if you're seeing it at +11.5, that's...
Well, it could be boosted because I just looked at my boosted odds. So I'll still take it at 9.5.
I have 9.5 where I'm looking at. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, 11's a little bit much to. It's probably the boosted odds, I think. But 11 I would have had to try and take that too. What over or under, Logan?
Over.
What's the points at? I'll pull it up on
total. I'm going to say total of 60.
Oh well, it's at 53. So yeah, 53 total. Well, is the over there?
I'm not betting that one on the over, but I do think they get to 60 potentially. Like I think there's more of a chance of it going over than under, and I just like the Jags to cover the spread. Like I'm betting the spread all over, but since we have to add the over under element to make it a bit more interesting, I will take the over.
All right, Gov, where are you at for your game? Only leaves you 2 games left.
Oh, I was doing a little research real quick. My game's pretty simple. Eagles cover -7.5.
And the over/under for that?
Taking the under.
I
have it at 48.5 is the over/under, and I'm taking the under.
Yeah, I really like the under in that game as well. I don't think the Giants are going to force them to.
They keep it close, and Philly's not got anything they need to just put up a score for. Unlike Buffalo, Cincinnati, which should be a shootout, San Fran, Dallas should be a shootout, and Jacksonville should try to be shooting out with Kansas City. Or at least they'll most likely have to, because Kansas City will probably score.
Said 48.5.
48.5. I take the under.
Okay, yeah, and Eagles on rest. Hurts might still not be 100%. If he is 100%, he might still have a little bit of rest on him. So they'll probably just want to run the ball and get out of the game after they get away with an early lead.
Now, can we transition just right over to the lineup builder? Because I do think it'll just be an easy translucent kind of conversations to speak about all these games in that manner anyways. I would love it if you guys would first tell me one player that you don't want to play, and then we'll go ahead and draft.
Player I don't want to play, I'm going to go quarterback. I don't want to play Trevor Lawrence this week. I think it's too... I like the other cheaper option with Daniel Jones there. If you wanted to pay up the 100 for, Prescott, I think Burrow has great value.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Trevor Lawrence where he's at. He could very well have another bad turnover game, even though he fixed it. He could have another 2 interception game, 1 touchdown. Generally, he seems to be, a lot lately, touchdown to 1 touchdown, 1 interception type quarterback.
Fair point. And I do think that would be a popular game, and people like to take the popular game in the cheaper quarterback. People did this with the Lions when with Jared Goff a lot of times when the total was high. People have done this against Patrick Mahomes. It's like, oh, we know the Chiefs are going to push, so we'll just play the cheaper quarterback. So it does happen. Gov, who's the player that you don't want to play? I'm giving you.
That's a tough one.
Let me.
I don't want to. Okay, I don't have a specific, but I don't want to play more than one Giant at all.
That's fair.
So if we're playing Barkley, we can't play Daniel Jones. We can't play Slayton or Richie James. Yep. No Bellinger. I'd almost be willing to say I would take that and say if we play Daniel Jones, we have to go naked Daniel Jones. And fair just enough. Hope he gets 12 rushes.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
But it's I don't know if there's in a 4-game slate that there's anyone I don't want to play, but I definitely do not want to be heavy on the Giants. I'd say no more than one Giant in a lineup. I also know from running the Opto, it wants to jam in 2 or 3.
And I don't want to play Deebo Samuel for the wide receiver position. Similar to Lawrence with Donnie, I think Deebo's a good play. I think he's a good player. I just think everyone's going to be on narrative street.
Well, what's his price?
He didn't move up at all, Donnie. He didn't move up.
Oh, that hurts.
5,900, yeah.
That hurts, Logan.
But that's the thing is people that didn't play him automatically going to jam him in the lineup because they didn't get the 31 points that we got, Donnie, and because he's too cheap, and his ownership is going to be absurd. And all we need to do is get that right. And so I'm forcing it to happen to create some kind of variance to see what we can do.
I mean, I like Ayuk this week, so I have no problem pivoting there.
It's honestly Donnie's same point with Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is a good play, but I think he's going to be superiorly the higher owned quarterback. I think it's going to be him or Brock Purdy. And I told you I would learn Brock's name. I mean, obviously I was being a bit tongue in cheek. I did know it was Brock.
And just to throw it out there, using my preliminary research I was doing here in the background, those offensive linemen haven't actually played the entire year for Cincinnati. So those are 2 of the offensive linemen that they have been having to deal with not having for a good chunk of the. I believe Kappa only played in 11 of 16 games this year, and that's including the game against Buffalo that basically did not play. If you take that out as no one played that game, Kappa and Jonah still only average 11 games this year for Cincinnati. So they haven't had a fully effective offensive line all year. I'm not as worried about them.
Excuse me. Go ahead. You're good now.
No, you're good. Like I said, I'm not as worried about Cincinnati and their offensive line problems. They've sort of been dealing with that all year. And they made a run to the Super Bowl last year with what was arguably the worst offensive line in football.
But yeah, and I think Donnie's point still holds. And thank you.
It is something to look for. Will they be as efficient? Are they going to have to change their offensive scheme from what they've been doing the last few weeks? Probably. Does it help them more? I think it will.
Right.
fully healthy wide receiver core, running more of a shotgun style.
Yeah.
Like we saw when they were like the big stretch, they also didn't have Mixon at the time, and you saw Samaje Perine run really well behind that shotgun front.
Are you guys ready? I'm going to give you a trivia question. Who can name it first? I think you both will know it. Whoever gets it first will get the first pick. You guys ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Who is the Bills punter?
Hawk?
Oh God.
Go.
Punter. Shit. Fuck. I can think of their kicker. I can't think of their punter.
Maybe I
their
know.
punter
But I mean,
is...
okay.
Damn it! I was on the tip of my tongue.
You have one for me and Gov. Maybe you can come up with a player or a scenario for us.
I cannot think of one off the top of my head.
The answer is Sam Martin, by the way.
Sam Martin.
Martin. There we go.
Let me give you guys another one. Let's see. Let me see what I can come up with here.
Oh, it's Hack. I was thinking of.
Who can name the most Kansas City running backs? Go.
Active?
On the roster this season at any point.
Okay, so McKinnon, Pacheco, Ronald Jones, Clyde Edwards-Helaire,
that's where I would be.
Melvin Gordon.
I would have forgot Gordon. You got it.
Okay, go. Got it. Gov, you wheel the first pick.
When did Hack get cut? I'm confused.
I wasn't even going to go down that rabbit hole. Okay, so first pick.
No quarterback first pick.
Dallas Goedert.
Dallas Goedert. I like it.
I think he's one of my favorite tight end plays on the week. Like, I know Jalen Hurts likes him. I just have and what was it? Wasn't it? Hawkinson had a solid, like it was the middle of the field that the Giants were able to sort of, or that Minnesota was sort of able to attack the Giants last week.
And we haven't seen the Eagles at full capacity. Like they haven't left the nest, pun intended, in a while at full like wingspan. Where they fuck things up.
Had all the receivers, had Goddard back, had Hurts healthy.
Right. And so I do think like the teams coming off of a bye will go lower owned. I just personally believe this.
Do you want to take the next pick, Logan, or do you want me to have it?
I'll take it.
Okay. I want to jam in somebody, so
do I. And
I have seen builds with Diggs, Chase, and CMC that look fine. So jam away, dude.
McKenzie, go ahead.
Oof. I like this pick, but oof. Like, I don't know why I'm saying oof, but oof, yes.
He was not playing last week. Everyone's going to forget about him. At 3,300, he allows us to do almost anything else. Everyone else will pay down for Shakir because he got 10 targets, assuming that he's the guy.
And Beasley got a touchdown last week.
Beasley got a touchdown, but it was because McKenzie
didn't play. If McKenzie's active, I think he gets all of Beasley's work. I would agree with that.
He gets all of Beasley's work and probably a lot of Shakir's, maybe even all of it. So I like McKenzie.
All right. I'm already taking our flex spot. I want Kelsey.
Oh, we're tight end double. We're going the double T.
By the way, the Jags are the worst team left against tight ends in the playoffs. And we're getting the best tight end.
Yeah, we're getting the best tight end. We're getting a tight end with the receiving core not being completely healthy. And Mahomes off a bye week, probably going to want to, get the ball away.
Don't hate that. I don't hate that.
And usually you see veterans save up, like, for big moments. We do know Travis Kelce is getting older, and we also know that tight ends tend to have more surprising retirement kind of like the window for tight ends closes faster, I think, than a lot of other positions because they take so much ramming force. Like, you got to be a blocker and a receiver as a tight end. And usually those careers end quicker than wide receivers. Not saying Kelsey will retire, but like I'm saying, there's only so many more prime opportunities to get Kelsey. I think he knows that. So I do think he might elevate his game to try to get Patrick Mahomes one more Super Bowl. Not saying it will happen, but I think we're going to get the best of Travis Kelsey. And he's already the best tight end on the slate.
I agree with that. Are we going? So is it?
Are we snaking it?
Yeah, it's back to you. Well, no, it would be Donnie, right?
Yeah, I just picked last. So, I'm just gonna go ahead and say I want the Eagles defense.
Okay. That works.
I don't trust the Giants offense. Not enough talent. Their Eagles defensive talent, especially in the secondary, is so good. All they need is 2 turnovers, and they're looking nice. I really think it's a good pick here. We had the value with McKenzie.
So it's my pick, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll go back to you.
Dakota.
You're putting Dak in there against San Francisco.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
5 touchdowns last week. He might be high owned, but I don't mind that. I think there's better quarterbacks to go with on this slate.
I think he might be the worst quarterback in this 4-game slate, to be honest. I legitimately would rather have any other quarterback than him.
I would rather have Dak over Trevor Lawrence.
Not
in real life. Like, I think Trevor Lawrence has a higher ceiling. I just trust Dak to be more consistent and get more points this week.
The
big four, I'd still rather have Lawrence over Dak. I'd still have the rushing floor of Daniel Jones over Dak, and I like Brock Purdy. So,
he's one of my lesser quarterbacks on the slate.
That honestly makes it probably a good play because, like, I do not want to play Dak. So, right. I don't know how much recency bias he's actually going to get from that game last week against Tampa.
Can I tell you why I like to play Dak Prescott? It's because I want to play all the other running backs in the other games. And I think Dallas, if they're going to win this game, they have to throw the ball. If I looked at San Francisco, their weakness is their secondary. Their D-line is the best in the league, in my opinion. So I'm attacking a defense that I think is going to be high owned at their weakest position, which is cornerback and safety. They have really good linebackers and a really good defensive line. And you also got the rushing upside of Dak Prescott.
Yeah. Like I said, it is not my favorite play on the week.
Right.
That being said, it's not a horror.
Hey, you did love McKenzie, so I mean, I did win you over with at least McKenzie.
Yeah. All right, so now I'm up to 2 picks. Let's see. What we got? Well,
we have no correlation. That's what we don't have.
Not yet. Hey, we do have.
Well, let's just straight up say fuck correlation then. I am gonna go with McKinnon.
We did that last week.
Now, in all honesty, give us, because you weren't here last weekend. We did this, and I'll get McKinnon in there. But tell the people, like, on a slate like this, on the playoff slate where the games matter, but also a small slate, why you wouldn't correlate, and why correlation isn't as important as it is during the regular season. Like, I know it sounds obvious, but give people the complex answer to a very obvious question if you can.
Well, basically is the larger the slate, which is what we get during the year, the 10-game, 11-game, 13-game slates. I'm trying to add correlation in order to get what I'm guessing down to just like 1 or 2 things. Like, I want to try to correlate this game so that all I have to do is say this game is right and I have the pieces from it. On a 4-game slate, I don't want to say it's easier, but it is more viable to try to get the right pieces from these 4 games themselves, as opposed to saying, I just want as much of this game and fill it in with the rest. Now, that being said, I think finding a specific team to latch onto is probably a smart build path. Going quarterback, running back, wide receiver from a team and just grabbing all the points, hoping that that's the team that scores 30 this weekend, knowing that with only 4 games, you might only have 1 or 2 teams doing that. But I also think it's totally viable to just like, you don't have to fully correlate and stack. You're not looking for the double stack bring back like we are to try to really like condense our choices.
Yeah, I agree.
So like, I'm not saying I won't correlate, but I am not like
You're not
immediately
forcing.
starting with the double stack bring
Well,
back.
I think from that Kansas City offense, we have the 2 most likely guys to score.
I agree. I think we have correlated the Kansas City offense pretty solidly.
Not only that, I want to mention again that you can look this up statistically to back me up. I believe my source here. The the Jags, because they run the wide 9 system and they run their defensive end so wide, they give up a ton over the middle and they give up a ton on screens. They are the worst team at defending the short yardage, dump off, kind of like gimmicky play, jet sweeps and screens, which not only does McKinnon have the potential to catch because he is a pass catcher, like that is what Kansas City does. So I like those, opportunities.
All right. And now for my second pick, I'm going to give us some value, and I'm going to correlate. I'm playing T.Y. Hilton.
Ooh.
There we go. They're a big play. They're a big play receiver too.
They are using him a solid amount.
They are
like 4 or 5 targets a game since he's come on with the team. I'm willing to take that shot at 3,200 in the playoffs.
They're all deep shots too. He is playing a.
Oh yeah, he's not getting a lot of he's getting a pretty solid ADOT to go with that stuff. So it's perfect. It gives us salary relief. It correlates with Dak Prescott because if we're playing Dak, we're saying Dak's throwing probably 3 or 4 touchdowns. If he's throwing 3 or 4, he's probably hit Hilton on 1.
The old saying that sometimes you don't want to get in the way of a good story. So I don't know. I haven't fact checked this, but I heard that T.Y. Hilton said that Dak Prescott was the best quarterback he's ever played for, and basically he could have been catching deep passes like this his whole career, and the fact that he's doing it at such an advanced age only proves it. It's just the quarterbacks were holding him back. So I do think there's an explosion coming from T.Y. Hilton.
I think that's one of the most ridiculous things that he could have said if he's just disregarding his career with Andrew Luck. I mean,
no, Prescott's better than Luck.
It's pretty close in my eyes.
That's not close at all. Prescott's not anywhere near as good as Andrew Luck was.
Well, I'm saying that because the offensive line wasn't giving Luck much time, but I think most people would say that Andrew Luck.
I saw
better.
Luck stand in the pocket and make some killer fucking throws.
I
honestly thought Andrew Luck got beat up. I honestly thought Andrew Luck got beat up worse than David Carr. And yes, I said David Carr, the one who got the yips after year 1 in Houston because he got hit 55 or whatever. What was the record? Like 65 sacks in a season for a rookie back when it was only 16 games. Like he legitimately was given the yips worse than fucking Brett Maher last week.
Let's put this on.
And I think Andrew Luck took more punishment than that.
Let's put this on the back burner because I would love to do a deep dive into this topic. And what we'll do is we'll pose it to the community, to our community in the comment section. Like and subscribe as always on the YouTube channel. But in this, would you take Luck or Prescott? Because I don't think we could be any more different. Donnie is saying it's close. I'm saying it's not close.
I'm saying it's close, but if the talent was if Luck had that talent that Prescott had, Luck probably could make it to the Hall of Fame with that talent.
Right. Hey man, maybe I'm drunk with all kinds of excitement because
I'll be
have
right
been
back.
working tons of overtime and goes a bit distracted. So we're gonna put this on the back burner and come back to this. But I do think like this is a great time for people to interact with us, Donnie, and give us their opinion. But like I was saying, you're split down the middle. Gov's completely on the other side as me, so we couldn't be more opposite in any of our because like the fact that you're right down the middle and you're not going to break the tie, and the fact that me and Gov, I mean, as passionate as that Luck is better than Prescott, I feel tenfold on the other side. I just don't want to make the argument because the debate is not worth it at this point. But like, I just think like this is a good topic that we can bring up next week. So it is my selection, though, correct?
Yeah, it is yours. You can literally pick anyone.
Could. And
Sorry, guys. My brother's going to need some help, so I'll be jumping up and out every month. Just to let you know, but I'm here for right now.
You're good, and we're going to try to wrap this up anyways to keep because what I want to have happen, Gov, is to try to get as much eyeballs on the good content as possible. And so the faster we get this out, the longer it has a chance to live. So like it's not that we don't want to talk, it's not that we don't have topics. I mean, I want to talk about the XFL, we want to talk about NBA, but I want to do that for next week's show to kind of replace the review show. So let's finish this lineup and then we'll get out of here. And speaking of, give me Jamar Chase. Give me number one. I think it's one of the best plays.
I don't hate that. We have all the money in the world.
Yeah. If you're gonna leave me with 82 for the last pick,
and it's running back.
And it's running back.
Correlate it.
I'm not going to correlate it. Well, kinda. I'll correlate with Ty. Give me Christian McCaffrey.
Yes.
There's your bring back. Yep.
Now, I will
single
say,
stack with a bring back. Correlate the Kansas City offense. Correlate a Cincinnati Buffalo stack, and then say the Eagles and Goddard just rip through the Giants. Don't hate it. That's more correlated than I thought, but a very solid lineup.
I would have liked to get CeeDee Lamb in there over Jamar Chase personally, but I also
double
really
stack
like
I could see, like with a Dak stack, I could see going with the double there.
Quick hitter,
and then maybe getting up off of, like at that point, you might be able to play like Gallup instead of Hilton or something.
Right. But I like Hilton because Hilton's seeing the deep targets. Gallup looks good because he caught the touchdown, but touchdowns are the most fluky. We saw that with Julio Jones. If you take away Julio Jones' touchdowns on the Monday night game when the game was out of hand, he doesn't have 39 points in your captain spot. But because of the touchdowns, he does. Now, we won't be able to predict touchdowns, but we can predict big opportunities and air yards, and T.Y. Hilton's getting all those. So why don't we do this? Why don't you either give me a bold take or something you hate about this lineup, and then we'll get out of here with this. It'll be the quickest show we had, but like I said, I want to try to get as many eyeballs on this and just keep it about the lineup and about the spread and see how this does in the algorithm this week.
Well, I'll say with the lineup, last week we went with a lot of big name guys. Mm-hmm. This week there's not as many big name. I prefer having the big name guys. I think the big name guys, talent shows in the playoffs more often than not. But I don't mind any of these picks. I think McKinnon's a great guy to have, especially. A little bit shaky on the Ty and McKenzie because that could be such a boom or bust play to have both of them.
Donnie, but that's what makes us like we only have $200 left. It's not like we left $1,000 on the table.
Yeah, and it's not like we don't have any. Like we have McCaffrey, we have Chase, we have Kelsey. Like we have big names in this line.
Honestly, Gov, how else could you build a lineup like this without what we did? Like, do people play Shakir over McKenzie? Is there any other viable options where you could build a lineup like this?
Well, like I said, when I ran my Opto, I'd be getting a lot of 3,900 Richie James. I'd be getting a lot more Giants that are cheap. I'd be getting Zay Jones and Marvin Jones from Jacksonville.
Yeah, the Jags are really cheap, by the way. Agnew might be out for this game, so
I just want to touch on what Gov said with the with his things he's finding with the Giants receivers. That we completely went opposite. Didn't play a single Giant, I don't think. And
no, but we played the defense against them.
Yeah, but we played the defense against them, so that's a way to really get different against what people are probably going to be looking at.
Well, I actually like Higgins probably better in a vacuum, but like because we have the money, Chase, it makes the difference in this lineup because Higgins is so cheap. Like I'll put in Higgins just to show comparison reasons. I put in Higgins, he's 5,000, similar to Debo. Then you got all the money in the world. And then you're like, oh well, I got the money, so I got to pay up, and then you end up making a mistake. So that would be my takeaway for the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of. I think all my guys were the high price guys, so
which is fine because that's just maybe the position you were in.
So, well, yeah, no, I took the high defense, I took Kelsey, and I took McCaffrey because that's just what I was left with. It was a no-brainer there.
But wouldn't you agree, Gov, that people will make that mistake? They see the money, they feel like they got to spend it, or like they're like, well, Higgins and Chase have outdueled each other or like had big games. So if I do this, then I can get off of this play. But like we're at the playoffs, like all these players are good. There really is no scrub at this point.
Right.
Like, there might be scrubs based on the price, but I would say that's a mistake by DraftKings because somebody has to be cheap, not because the talent's not there.
Agreed.
Yeah. No, the only thing, if I had to say like make a change, I would maybe get off Chase, go Higgins, and get up to Ayuk away from one of the other receivers or cheap receivers. But I think you're giving your ceiling so much lower at that point.
Right. And again, I wanted to keep this under an hour. I want to get this out as quick as possible. So I'm actually going to force the stop here. We're not going to do the rattling on like we normally do. Tell you we're going to keep it under an hour and then push it over an hour. Thanks for joining me, guys. Any last words for the people?
Nope, that's about it for me.
Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Divisional round. This is when football's starting to get fun.
Yeah, last thing, again, we're going to come back with a review show where we talk about all topics. NBA's coming up soon, XFL, USFL, but that's going to be like our Tuesday show. That's going to be our variety show. We just want to shoot out a lineup, get it out there, let you guys kind of marinate with it. Good luck. Be responsible. Be safe. Enjoy football. We only got a couple more weeks left. Thanks, guys. I thought that was actually really